With that, good morning. I'm Mark Pinto, Adult Services Director here at Phoenixville Public Library, and I'd like to welcome you to another in the library's occasional series of Community Services Spotlight features, highlighting programs and services of local nonprofit and social service organizations that serve the residents of the Phoenixville area. Today, we're spotlighting Casa Youth Advocates, serving Delaware and Chester counties, whose mission is to help abused and neglected children live well, achieve academic excellence, and experience the joys of childhood by providing them with trained volunteer advocates who speak for their best interests. From Casa, we have with us this morning Susie Coladonato and Tracy Walsh. Excuse me. Welcome, guys, and please tell us about the wonderful work that Casa Youth Advocates does.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you, Ariel and Lisa, for joining us. So I'm just going to get the basics of what Casa is, and then I'll hand it over to Tracy to give kind of the nitty-gritty of what the work looks like. So Casa stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates, and the agency that we are representing here this morning is for Delaware and Chester counties. This is a national agency that was started back in the 70s on the West Coast in Seattle, Washington, by a judge who was making life-changing decisions for families and children when he felt like he really didn't have enough information to be doing so. That's how Casa started. And here we are going strong with almost 1,000 Casa agencies across the US. So we, I just, one quick thing before we jump into stuff. Casa of Delaware and Chester counties does not discriminate against our clients or our advocates on any basis of race, religion, ethnicity, LGBTQ status, disability, military status, or anything else. So just a quick word about how many kids we serve. In Delaware and Chester counties, we serve only about between 18 and 20% of the kids who are actually able to have a Casa. That's why we're always looking for more volunteer advocates, because every kid in this child welfare system could really benefit from our services, but we just don't have enough advocates to serve them. And so we're reaching out to try to talk a little bit about what it is that we do and how you may be of service, if you're so inclined, what the training might look like, and what the work actually looks like. So if it's okay with you, Tracy, can I pass it along?
Sure. Yeah, and I just approached this by telling you about my background and the cases that I have been involved with, and the challenges and rewards and that sort of thing. So I'm going to start with when I became a Casa, which was in 2017. I had retired in June of 2016. I was an investment advisor. I had been in the financial services industry for over 30 years. And I was, after a real break, I was really looking for something to give me meaning in my life, either a volunteer assignment. Actually, I was considering strongly being a court-appointed guardian, which would tie in my financial background, and that's usually associated with older people who need help with their finances and that sort of thing. But I found out about Casa completely by accident. I was telling my friend about the court-appointed guardianship I was interested in, and she said, "Oh, you mean you're thinking about being a Casa?" And I said, what is a Casa? And she told me she was a teacher and her principal was a court-appointed special advocate. And when I found out it involved children, that really interested me much more than being a guardian. So I looked into it. I interviewed with Casa in late January of 2017, and I started the training in March of 2017. At that time, we were doing, I think it's a 35-hour training, and it was twice a week from 6 to 9 in the evening. The training is just outstanding because I really thought to myself, how the heck can I do this? I don't have a law background. I don't have a social work background, but the training really, truly prepares you. So my first case I got in March of 2017, right after I completed my training. It was a 16-year-old Hispanic girl. She was undocumented. Her parents were not able to control her. She had drug and alcohol involvement, gang involvement. In fact, she ripped off a gang member, okay? And the gang members were coming after her. She was put into a drug and alcohol facility in Western Pennsylvania. That's where I first met with her. She was a real spitfire, and she finished that treatment, came back home to the area, but not with her parents, because we did not want her to go back to the area where she would probably be tempted to pick up the same activities. So she lived with her godparents and her god sister, finished high school early. The court terminated her, and she was preparing to go to beauty school. By the way, her past was, as all of these kids, she had past trauma, and in her case, it was because of family sexual Abuse. My second case was two boys, 15 and 16 years old. That one went really fast. They had been in and out of service with Department of Children, Youth, and Families for a long, long time. They experienced years of homelessness, neglect, truancy, inadequate care. Their mother had a history of mental illness. When they did go to school, they would go to school in clothes that hadn't been washed for months, and they would be teased and bullied about that. And it was really sad. The 15-year-old was at the time reading at a first grade level. And the father had all along presented as a resource. He had been involved years prior in visitation, but the mother closely guarded custody of the boys. And she really was so mentally ill. She had the ability to make it very, very difficult. I met her once, and she was with another caseworker of hers. She was frightening, frankly, to me. If her other caseworker hadn't been there, I probably would have felt really, really threatened. But anyway, that case ended very happily in June of 2018. Full custody was awarded to the dad. My third case is the case I am working on now. I was assigned this case in July of 2018. At the time, the boy who I'm working with was 11 years old. He just recently turned 15. He was in a psychiatric hospital when I took the case, and that's where I first met him. He was there due to aggression and out of control behavior and some self-injurious behavior. His biological parents' rights had been terminated in 2015 when he was 8 years old, but he had been in and out of care with the agency since 2009. Each time a child in placement changes placements, goes from one place to another, it's a trauma for these kids. And in this case, my kid had 14 different placements since 2009. Most of them were really pretty short term. He has lived a total of 4 years in institutionalized care, which is really what really bothered me about this case. I mean, either in a residential treatment facility for mental health disorders or in psychiatric hospitals. So all that is the really sad news about my guy, but there is really, really so much good news. He's very handsome. He's incredibly athletic. He's personable, and he's smart, and he's so resilient. And in August of 2021, he discharged to the home of a former therapist at one of his psychiatric hospitals. And he is on track to be adopted in March. And I just could not be happier. This woman is a single mother. She's got 2 kids of her own, and she has 2 other foster kids. So I'm talking 5 kids in the home. Her love and her attention and her consistency have enabled him to overcome his attachment issues. And he is thriving in her home and rising to her expectations. This is a guy who's at grade level and earning, he's probably on track to earn at least honor roll, possibly straight A's for the second semester. But what's so important is that you have to realize, to be at grade level, given his background in the institutionalized care, is amazing. It speaks to his, number one, his innate intelligence. But I mean, when you're in a psychiatric hospital, these kids get no education. I mean, really, literally no education. And in the RTFs, it's quite inferior. So that has always been something that bothered me. But he's, like I said, he's definitely going to make honor roll, and he's aiming for straight A's because he wants to get the monetary reward that his mother is setting up for him. So I just couldn't be happier about that. The challenges, there are many challenges when it comes to being a court-appointed advocate. First of all, you have to learn about the child welfare system. It's something I had no knowledge of. So my very first case, I think I had 2 legal papers, legal sheets full of acronyms. You have to figure out what's really in the best interests of the child, because that is the whole reason why you've been appointed by the judge, to look out for that kid's best interests. CASAs do write a court report. And at first I found that pretty daunting, but I've really gotten used to it now. I find I pace myself along the way, keep notes along the way, and that makes it a lot easier. Some of us do testify in court. In Delaware County, I don't think people do testify in court, but in Chester County, CASAs can testify in court. And in fact, I have done that, and that can be pretty nerve-wracking. The main thing is, though, the teams can be really large: welfare workers, teachers, the education systems, the guardian ad litem, the kid's attorney, parents, and legal representatives. So what really is important is for the CASA to create a teamwork atmosphere. And so many of these people are really overworked, and they may have an agenda that's quite different. Like, for example, Department of Children, Youth, and Families really it has the objective of reunifying the kids. So, that's not always in their best interests. CASA itself is a marvelous, CASA of Delaware and Chester County, just a marvelous, I can't speak highly enough of the staff, the paid staff. So many supports are in place: workshops, continuing ed, supervisors are, they're there with you throughout everything. And whenever I have a question, I call my supervisor, or, sometimes I ask Susie for advice too, because she's very approachable as well, even though Susie is not my supervisor. They also have support circles where all the volunteers can get together. Lately, we've been doing it virtually, but we can openly discuss our cases and get ideas from each other, because of course you want to always guard the privacy of the children or child that you're working with, but we can speak a little bit more freely in that environment. And I really enjoy that. It's helped me a lot. The rewards, I am incredibly rewarded by doing this. The kids themselves, all of my kids have been teenagers. And it was really funny because during my training, the people in my class said, "Oh, I don't want teenagers," but I've really, really enjoyed and liked all my kids. The rewards in some cases, like particularly my second case, the dad who got custody of his 2 boys, that guy worked 3 jobs, and he took full custody of these 2 teenage boys who were traumatized from their mother. He had to jump through so many hoops to get that custody, and he did it. And I mean, he had 1 Tuesday off a week, and then at night he'd work as an Uber driver. That was the 3rd job. And every Tuesday when he was off, he did all these things that he needed to do in order to qualify for getting custody of his boys. So he was really quite remarkable. When you see the resilience of these kids despite all of their obstacles, and I mean, some of these things are harrowing, what they've gone through, including my current kid. I seek a sense of accomplishment. I think I sort of need that in my life. My job served that purpose before, but now CASA is what serves that purpose for me. It's hard work, but I'm super proud of it. I think it's so worthwhile. And the last thing is, I have met so many great people through my CASA work. Now, I've been doing it just shy of 5 years now. I'm talking the CASA staff, other volunteers, various agency staff, at DCYF, teachers. I mean, my second case, those kids were in Coatesville School District. And you guys, since you're in Chester County, are probably familiar with the reputation of Coatesville schools. And I have to tell you that every person in Coatesville Middle School that I came in contact with uplifted me. These people were seriously really interested in the best interest in those kids, and I was really touched by that. A lot of people I've met through continuing education, so it's just really too many people to mention. That's basically what I mean. I could go on and on about each of these cases and tell you so much more, and I'm happy to answer questions. But bottom line is, I really do love being a CASA. It's sort of better than I could have expected. I really expect that I'll be a CASA for a long time until I can't be one anymore. And I hope that if we have sparked your interest, you'll touch base with Susie or me, and we'll set you up with an information session, because we do need more volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm not sure if you guys have any like materials or like pamphlets or anything that you can send, because I will be more than happy to share that with our, like, just the individuals that work at Horsham, and not to mention share it with our social workers and our case managers for in the event that children, adolescents, young adults need your services. We would love to be able to, extend that branch and set them up with those resources as well. Horsham has three different locations. One of them is in Coatesville, which is our partial program for children and adolescents only. And then the other one is another offsite partial in Delaware County, Broomall location. Again, children and adolescents only there. Our main campus is Montgomery County, but I'm not sure if I know you had mentioned Delaware County and Chester County, but you had mentioned that CASA had like other, I guess you guys extend beyond just Chester County and Delaware County as well. I'm not sure, but again, I think what you guys do are amazing, and I definitely would love to share your information with all three of our sites. And again, even if it's not just for the our kids and our clients, being able to use the resources, but hopefully individuals that work there, if they have the time and can volunteer, or even if they're looking to branch out a little bit more, hey, I'm all for whatever is in the best interest of the clients and the patients. So I would definitely love that information.
Thanks, Lisa. That's great. I'll send out pamphlets to all three locations. So
Perfect.
Even though there's not a dedicated CASA in Montgomery County, when we talk about kids who are Delaware County kids or Chester County kids, that just means that's where they originated from. That does not mean that's where they are. And so that's
because well, I was going to say that's
ahead.
perfect, because our Montgomery County campus has the inpatient, so individuals originate from all over. So there's kids from Chester, or actually it says children, adolescents, and adults, originate from all over, but sometimes they may wind up at our inpatient in Montgomery County because of higher levels of care needed. However, we eventually, oftentimes we'll step them down. So definitely any and all information that you have to share with all three of our sites is greatly appreciated, especially because geographically, sometimes where people are located, like sometimes people from Chester County can use our Broomall location and vice versa. Like I know South and Southwest Philadelphia kids often use our Delaware County location sometimes. And I'm sure Tracy and Susie, are where their guardianship may be. Sometimes they don't even live at that residence, type of things. We see a lot of that based off of like insurance purposes for Philly and things like that. So again, it's just a very valuable and great resource. And I definitely would love that information.
I'll take care of that, Lisa.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa, for what you do at Horsham, because I've had exposure to Horsham Clinic in Coatesville through two of my youth. So I know it's a really worthwhile program. And yeah, whenever anybody can spread the word, right, Susie?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to attend. I work at a library, the Chester Springs Library, which isn't really far from Phoenixville. So if you have anything to send to us, we would really appreciate it too. I'm sure I would be able to talk it up at the library, just like you're doing, Mark. Yeah, that's what I was really looking for, was the information. I'm just starting college, actually. I'll be leaving the library, and I was struggling with, I've known what I've always wanted to do, but I was wanting to find a career that was something like social work or in this kind of field, but I don't know if I could do it full time. I have my interests. I'm studying to be a wildlife biologist, so that's really where my interests lie. But I've always wanted to involve myself in something like this. So maybe if I'm not a volunteer right now, I definitely will look to it in my future.
Oh,
And at least spread the word.
absolutely. You are a future Casa volunteer. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've reached out to so many places before COVID to volunteer, especially with what you were saying, your first, I almost said student, your first kid was the Hispanic girl.
Mhm.
My boyfriend's from Mexico, and I've learned Spanish since
Oh,
being with him because
Oh,
he
that's
didn't know
awesome.
any, yeah, he didn't know any English. So I had to step up and learn Spanish, and vice versa, obviously. But knowing Spanish and knowing the culture, it's really opened up like what I can do in that kind of
sure.
field. Like there's so much more I could do. I could specifically help those kind of kids, you know. So I was just very interested.
Wonderful. Spread the word at your school too.
Okay,
I
yes, yeah.
love that. Have you and the other reason why I also wanted to see if you can send the materials, and I'm not sure if you have already done this as well, but have you shared the CASA information and that like a need for volunteers and advocates in the Phoenixville Area Resource Network
Oh,
and
I've
the
heard of that.
Delaware Area Resource Network pages and like through our distribution lists?
No, and I'm not even quite sure what that even means.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me pull over. I'm in Center City, like a block away from Thomas Jefferson Hospital, and now a fire is like breaking out. Hold on
I
Uh-oh.
a
thought you
second. Let me
guys
back up.
did present to our PARN group.
Okay, I was gonna
Library
say, have they
Resource Network?
presented? And then there's also, I that's one of the things I was going to ask Mark, if they had shared the information in PARN, and then there's also
Yeah.
CARN,
Oh,
and then there's also DARN.
Darn, right.
yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so
I'm
okay,
sorry.
if you
Yes.
have not,
We are
okay,
a part
perfect.
of Karn, and Darn.
Yes.
So-
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
great. So I was gonna say, if not, then definitely share that information, and they'll blast that through a distribution list as well. So, okay.
Super.
And one thing I just kind of want to piggyback off of what Tracy said, because this can be very difficult work, but I do also think at the same time, it's so uplifting working with people who you do find a lot of resilience with families and find a lot of strengths that maybe have been overlooked in the past. And I feel like when it comes to CASA, we are so strength-based in everything that we do and the way that we look at all people, that I think that sometimes we're the one group of people or the one person who says, it's true that there's all of this that's not great, but it's also true that there's all of this that could turn into something great. So when you talk about kids who are in care, you talk about a lot of different placements and a lot of different professionals who have hands on a case. But with CASA, our whole goal is to have one CASA advocate throughout a child's time in care. And it makes a huge difference. It really does in every way, not just knowing a history, but having a child grow to trust an adult, maybe for the first time in their whole lives. So
in my current case, I mean, I this is a long case. I mean, it's 3.5 years, and this kid has had so many different caseworkers, so many different people come in and out of his life. And it's gotten to the point now where people involved in the case will contact me for information on him, because he's had like 5 caseworkers since I've been working with him at CYF. And so yeah, CASAs can really become an invaluable resource to everybody involved in the case. And I just want to mention one other thing, if I may, because, you know, for me, I frankly could not have worked and done this at the same time. Because I think I have a learning curve that requires me to invest a lot of time. But I've been amazed at the young people that I see at Casa events who are working, and they're doing this, the Casa work, the Casa volunteer work as well. In fact, one young woman said she had 2 cases, not just one, and I was like blown away. I mean, I'm so impressed. But I mean, there are people who do more than just Casa, so I don't want to suggest that anybody should do that, but
It's
there are some people who can.
55% that had full-time work that also.
55?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah, but not everybody's a Tracy, so, I
Well,
mean, Tracy digs deep.
a
but-
slow learner.
No,
No,
opposite.
I am.
She gives 120, so, and that's an amazing thing too, but I think there's room for every kind of person in an agency like this. But if nothing else, you have my word, I'll send out brochures to all Horsham stuff, and also Amy with your I'm sorry, your library.
Oh,
which
yes,
is-
yes, the Chester Springs Library. Yeah.
Got it, yes.
Mhm.
Volunteer. I mean, I live in Westchester, so our Exton Library has a day, they did before COVID, when they have a lot of volunteer organizations come in and everybody comes through the library and goes from table to table. And I found that a couple of years ago really successful in attracting a lot of names. So please keep us in mind, Ariel,
Okay.
and pass that along to your library, and same with you, Mark. So we can
Yes,
send
we've
people out,
done,
right, Susie?
We've done a similar
Oh,
thing
yeah.
in the past. We just have one organization at a time.
Okay.
Recruit. Yeah, but yes, definitely keep you in mind.
Thank you so much. I have to go at 10:30, but it was really informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ariel,
Thanks,
for
guys, for
joining
your
us.
time.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mark, for setting it up.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I really do appreciate it. And I know Ariel has to go, but I just want to reiterate how much I really do relate to this. Prior to coming to Horsham, I'm fairly new with working with Horsham. I started in July. Prior to working at Horsham, I was based out of the Philadelphia Juvenile Courthouse, and I was a representative for a Western Pennsylvania juvenile delinquent facility. So I saw the foundation of a lot of when the students were coming to us through the courts, where their background, the trauma that was involved with it, that led into the criminal system. A lot of it was a lot of mental health and behavioral health issues that were not, diagnosed, or that just kind of slipped through the cracks somehow. And unfortunately, these kids unfortunately wound up at the facility that I was. And a lot of people say they don't want to work with adolescents. I agree with Tracy. I 100% agree. I miss my adolescents. I miss them. I miss my juvenile delinquents. I do. I miss them.
I feel that I mean, I would want to work with adolescents because everybody says they don't want to, I feel like that would be almost more rewarding in that way.
And you know what, it really is. Like, I have kids that would still try to reach out, obviously boundaries and stuff I wouldn't be able to reciprocate in regards to that. But I loved when I would run into them at, if they had a job. There was a kid I ran into, he was working at Lowe's, and it was very, very it was very rewarding to see how successful he was, especially since you hear such negative things in regards to congregate care or institutionalized programs. It's not for everybody. Not everybody is going to be successful when they come out, but the ones who do, it's because there is an entire team like Tracy and Susie behind them, working diligently for them to have a positive outcome. And I've seen it. I've been in that courtroom. I've been kind of like on the other side of it, where we're like, hey, it's not like that the first case that you talked about, the girl. I remember, because when the representatives would have to sometimes stand in, because we couldn't have people travel 5 hours a day, from Western PA to testify in court. This is pre-COVID, pre-Zoom, they wanted people in court. And obviously we couldn't have our therapist or anybody come out of the facility, drive 5 hours, sit through court, and then drive 5 hours. That means all those other kids are missing out on their sessions and therapies today. So we often were the ones that were received the court reports, and we would have to be kind of like that advocate in the court and talk for them. But I would see those kids, and that first girl, I remember, it just kind of stuck with me. The amount of times we've had to stand there as an institution to say it's unsafe. It's not. They're going to go right back to where they were. It is, the information that we know, we can't allow them, to return to the home environment that they've come so much to know. So I've been there, and this is a thankless position at times as well. So a very so it's definitely much appreciated, and I will be more than happy to share your information with any connections that I have in regards to the people that I've had relationships with. Again, I'm based out of Philadelphia, but it was the Philadelphia courthouse. So, but you never know where people branched off to and things. So
Sure. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
Not
you.
a
And thank you,
problem at
Mark.
all.
Welcome.
Thanks again.
Thank you
everybody.
guys for taking the time out of your day to present and giving us the opportunity to share your
Thank you.
information.
And happy holidays.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Happy holidays,
Yeah.
Happy
guys.
holidays, everybody, and a healthy, wealthy new year. Safe out
Yes.
there. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We'll see
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take
You
care.
too.